Good morning and welcome to everybody who's joining us for this video interview. I've got a great guest today, Drasko Jelovic, who is CEO and founder of Cirtuo. Drasko, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Simon. I'm grateful for this opportunity.
Good stuff. Well, I've got some interesting questions to ask you about your personal journey and about Cirtuo. But before we get into that, perhaps for people who aren't familiar with the Cirtuo platform, can you just describe what problems it solves for your customers?
Sure. Category management, particularly category strategy, is one of the core processes, strategic processes in procurement. So we still wonder why 99% of the companies are actually still doing it in spreadsheets and PowerPoints and similar tools. So we are probably the first company in the world who digitized that process. So we support category managers with our technology to develop, validate, and execute category and supplier strategies. We support them to do it more effectively with a better stakeholder alignment, better identification of the business needs and wants, identifying right category and supplier strategies to address the business requirements in the right way, but also to increase the effectivity of the process and do it much faster and become proactive in that regard.
So let me talk to you a little bit about you and your personal journey. So I know that your early career was with Carney in Austria, and I just wondered what you experienced there that motivated you to set up a software company.
Sure. I started at Carney in 2000, and basically it was a great period because there was an emergence of strategic knowledge and concepts around procurement, and Carney was probably the first consulting company, or one among the first doing it. So I was fascinated by procurement. I was fascinated by procurement strategy. I was fascinated by the possibilities for procurement, how to develop it. Nevertheless, the reality looked a bit different because I was staffed mainly on sourcing engagements, which were rather tactical, looking for, let's say, short-term cost reductions, RFI, RFP negotiation, and so on. Of course, I enjoyed it. It was a great learning curve, great insight, but I felt from the beginning, having the knowledge on all the strategic frameworks and tools, there must be much more around or beyond sourcing. So that was actually my idea why I decided to go my own way after a couple of years.
So what was it like? Because you've gone from a global management consultancy like Carney to setting up your own software business. What were those first 90 days like, Drasko?
Well, it's probably more than just 90 days. I started primarily as a trainer, coach, consultant, and I intended to support category managers to look to develop a new perspective on their category, to develop critical thinking, to identify the right stakeholders, to make the right category analysis, to do everything more strategic in a more structured way, more organized, and pick up and actually mobilize the stakeholders. So honestly, at that point of time, I was not even aware I was doing category management or category strategy. It was just a passion and of course, the know-how, how to support category managers. But after a while, we noticed that there is a structure. There is also kind of approach which can be enhanced with the software tools. So already in 2010, in April, we launched the very first version of the software to support category managers to move away from the spreadsheets, from the presentations, and make everything in a digital format. So it was a long journey, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And so looking back at that time, what were your biggest challenges in getting Cirtuo off the ground?
I would say when I look back then, you have to imagine it was 2010. No one was really talking about strategy and especially not about digital strategy. So one of the key challenges was to trust into that idea, to be persistent, to keep that passion over years and develop our practice, know-how and insight in many different workshops and interactions with clients and technology introductions. So the persistency in the first even 10 years actually was paying off because with the beginning of COVID, when several layers of disruption actually started, when business requirements in procurement change, we see and register a lot of interest for a category strategy.
So it's interesting, really. So a full 10 years on from when you launched the business, there was really quite a breakthrough in terms of customers' attitudes towards what you've been envisaging way back in 2010.
Indeed. We have seen a breakthrough since 2020 again because of the accelerated and expanded business requirements. So it's not just cost, but it's assurance of supply, it's regulatory. We had to add ESG on top of that. Many of these business requirements were not easy to be addressed by procurement managers and to align with the stakeholders. And category strategy became a kind of natural response to address the complexity and navigate basically through a complex business environment.
So looking over the period of Cirtuo's life, which is kind of 14, 15 years now, what's been the North Star, the value that you've always held on to that's been common throughout that entire period?
Well, the North Star has been for sure for many years a positive client feedback. Many of them recognize that's the right topic, that's the right way to do it, this is how it should be done. Of course, it was difficult for clients to switch the mentality from the tactical to strategic, but I was truly encouraged. Although in the beginning, in a very small scale, I was encouraged with the client feedback. I knew that's the right thing. I knew that's the way to approach it. And also today, we are working with global companies, multinationals, Fortune 500 companies with many layers of complexity organization. They embrace the tool, they like to use it, they love to use it because it makes them more effective and efficient in the process of category strategy. So North Star is, of course, as mentioned, and is the positive client feedback and the way how is this used in the practice.
That's great to hear, actually, because as you might imagine, we hear some very varied stories on the success and effectiveness of software solutions in procurement, and we've certainly heard exclusively positive stories about Cirtuo. So it's good that resonates with how you've seen the business and how you've always used that as your focus. But I also wanted to ask that if you could go back in time, particularly to those early days in establishing Cirtuo, is there any advice you wished you had, or there was anything that you would do differently if you did it all again?
Well, probably. I mean, we had to switch from the consulting / coaching training mentality to the IT technology mentality. That was a really, really big step. We realized at some point of time, if we want to succeed, we need to develop an IT technology mentality and approaches. And maybe I should have been warned how difficult it is. Our clients don't see what is happening behind the scene, but I can tell you, it's really hard job to develop, maintain, and deliver a software technology. There are many strings you need to pull. There are many struggles, many ups and downs. Of course, we succeed at the end, but it's a really complex endeavor to deliver, maintain, and develop and produce a software product. So maybe that insight of upfront. We would be better handling what we have today, but we are happy it was a long journey. So now we finally landed where we want to be.
Good. That's great to hear. And just looking forward a little bit, what would a successful next 12 months look like for Cirtuo?
Well, I'm grateful for this question. We are in a big momentum as we are just launching our 4th generation of the tool, Guided Strategy Creation Pro, GSC Pro, for category and supplier strategies. And of course, we need to manage the launch of the new product and manage also migration and transitions of the existing clients to the new platform. And of course, we want to develop. We have now with the massive feedback, positive feedback from the market, and where to improve and how clients want to interact with the software. We have so many ideas we want to realize, and of course, an AI enablement and the tools which are existing and emerging are of a great help, and we are integrating that into our new development. So it will be exciting 12 months ahead of us. I'm looking forward to that.
That's great to hear. So just in terms of what your customers are saying to you now, what's your kind of biggest challenge with customers? Or perhaps I ought to ask, what is their biggest challenge that you're helping them with?
I think the biggest challenge is actually the transition in the mentality of procurement. I've been 25 years now in that space. I started as a buyer and then as a consultant and executed sourcing. So I've seen a lot. And basically, at its core, the function remained the same. Many things are still around sourcing and cost reductions and so on. And it's nothing wrong with that, but the trouble is that the business requirements have expanded. So you have to recognize that there is not just cost reductions, but there are many senior stakeholders in your organization which you need to pick up. You need to have well-balanced strategies. You need to develop within your team the new skills like storytelling, persuasion, and so on, digital savvy, So I think that procurement organizations are still on that transition road and path, and we of course help them. So the transition from operational tactical to more strategic, of course, with some tactical elements, is the biggest challenge for the procurement organization, parallel to adopting new tools.
Yeah, really interested to hear you say that, Drasko, because certainly we hear a lot of stories about end users, about big enterprise grade customers who have still got an awfully long way to go on their digital transformation journey. Some have started and struggled. Obviously there are, best in class who've done a great job, but they're in the minority. So there's a lot of businesses that certainly need some encouragement and some assistance on that. So yeah, that certainly tallies with what we hear as well. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about your view on the wider tech market in procurement, because both you and I attend Digital Procurement World in Amsterdam each year, and I know already for this coming year they've announced they've already got over 100 sponsors, and there's just such a myriad of software platforms. I just wonder how you see that marketplace evolving over the next, let's say, 4 or 5 years.
Oh, it's a difficult one. It's really difficult to say how it will evolve, but it's exciting. I hope there will be 3 major developments. The first one shall be consolidation of all the software tools, because there are simply too many. So if I would be a CPO or responsible person in a procurement organization, intended to actually select the right tools, I would be probably lost, because there are too many overlapping with different, marketing language. So it's really difficult to say which way to go. There are hundreds and hundreds of them. So I hope we can see some consolidation for the benefits of the final users. I also hope that the time of the big suites, has gone, and because they are partially expensive, inflexible, and don't keep up to the promise. So basically, I still believe in the best of breed. And finally, I think that new emerging AI tools will completely change the way how technology is used in procurement, how it will add value. So I would really appreciate to see more and more AI coming into the procurement space.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly AI is a big buzzword at the moment, and I certainly share that sentiment with you about when you go into those halls at DPW and there are so many vendors. For a CPO, it must be quite an overwhelming experience, where to start. So it will be interesting to see how things develop, and maybe some consolidation over the next few years. But Mr. Drasko, it's been great to get your thoughts on all this. Thank you so much for sharing your time. I hope the people watching this video have enjoyed hearing what you had to say, both your personal journey and your view on the wider tech market. So thank you once again, and look forward to seeing you in October at DPW.
Thanks, Simon. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.